How y'all doing tonight? Just about every time I've come up here or been on a stage, I've talked about horrible breakups, and I kind of want to show that I can talk about other relationships that you don't really see very often. This is loss. On Christmas Eve, it actually snowed. I stand on my patio and I watch it while I smoke a cigarette. You would have enjoyed this, I think. It would have reminded you of home. I listened to the song Here's You Me by Jimmy Eat World, and I can't stop crying. I'm trying so hard to be strong, man. I really am. I know Christy's worse off than me right now, and I need to be her rock. She just loved you so much, just like you did her. I think that kind of love is rare in life, and I'm glad you both got a chance to experience it with each other, even if it never does last as long as we'd like it to. When I got to your apartment last night, everybody was just so quiet. She was walking around trying to tidy up. Her face was just devoid of any emotion. And then her eyes met mine, and her face did that scrunch thing it always does when she's about to break down. So I dropped what I was carrying, and I ran over and I embraced her, and she just unloaded. She asked me all the questions that I don't have answers to. So I just held her, and I just held on to her as the tears came until she had nothing left to give. She's lost without you. You are everything to her, and I don't think she's strong enough to survive this. Thank you. And sometimes the most painful relationships in this life are the ones you don't even have a chance to have. This is hollow. South Carolina. I was in the office of Blockbuster counting down the tills when I felt my phone vibrate, indicating that I had a text. It was from Liz, and it read simply, "We need to talk." Now, we had been together for about 4 months and broken up for a month after that at this point, so I knew this was not going to be a good talk. I called her up and her voice was shaky. "What's wrong?" I asked her. "I don't want to talk about it over the phone." "Is it bad?" "Yeah, it's real bad." "Jesus, Liz, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" Silence, followed by heavy sobs and heavy breathing. "I've been having some medical problems. I had started bleeding at work, and I went to the doctor. I found out that I was pregnant, but I lost it." Time stopped. It's funny how your world can fall apart around you so quickly, how you can miss something so deeply when you didn't even know you had her to begin with. I broke down. The pain I felt, I wouldn't wish on anyone, especially someone that wanted kids. "Are you okay?" I asked her. "No." "Are you okay?" "No." I told her I would go see her when she got off work. Then I hung up the phone and wept. Chuck came in and I told him what happened, but he didn't know what to say. "What do you say?" I hurried with the rest of my duties and I went home. I felt like someone had punched a hole in my chest. I felt empty, hollow. I was in a calmer state, if you can call it that, by the time I got home. That's when I walked into the front door, and then Clay and his family asked what was wrong, and I broke down again as I told them what happened. I was met with one question and one comment. "Are you sure it was yours?" "Yes, I'm sure." "Fuck you for asking." "Well, you know, maybe it's for the best." "For the best? For the best? How fucking dare you say that shit to me? I could care less what came from this regarding her and my relationship, and how dare you say that the death of my child was a blessing in disguise? If I could have sent them to hell with a look right then and there, I'd have done it. It wasn't until late that morning when she got home from work. She said she hadn't eaten all day, so I picked up some food for us and headed over. When I got there and she answered the door, I was in shock. Good God, she was already starting the show. She let me in and we went to her bedroom. I brought a movie over she said she wanted to see to kind of help her get her mind off things. We ate and watched the movie in silence. Once it was over, we started the talk. The details of the conversation are fuzzy, as I only remember fragments. I held her and we grieved together. I looked at her and I wondered how this could have all gone so wrong. She told me that she was hormonal when we first broke up. That was a reason for a lot of the fighting. She didn't mean it. Then we kissed, and that led to more. Afterwards, we were holding each other talking. My hand caressed her stomach and her hand found mine and held it there. She started crying even harder. She told me she thought she might have been pregnant, but she wasn't sure. That she thought it was her fault that she had lost it. I told her that I didn't blame her, which was the truth. Sometimes these things just happen, not that it makes it any less painful. We were the only two people on the planet who felt what we were going through, and we gave each other a little comfort. Something like this was supposed to bring us together, but we weren't together, and this really drove that point home. We laid there the entire night and watched the sunrise. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there and hold her. Tell her everything was going to be all right. Now we could try again. The relationship, I mean. But I knew that's not what she wanted, so I left her house now grieving two things instead of one. Not that there's a good time for something like this to happen, but this was definitely the worst. Clay and his wife were due to have their baby any day at that point. For someone who just went through a miscarriage, seeing a family bring their new life home isn't exactly an ideal environment. So I stayed out as much as I could. I called my mom, looking for some comfort. But as soon as I told her what happened, she switched the subject to her work. I got mad, yelled at her, and I hung up. I called my father, which is in most cases the worst possible thing to do when I'm upset, but he was there for me. It's funny, I never know which parent's going to be the support system sometimes. I wandered around town feeling lost. The tears would come and go without warning. There was one night when Amy was having trouble with the baby due to exhaustion, so I offered to take over for a little while. I sat there in a rocking chair in the nursery, rocking the baby back and forth. He was asleep in no time. Just sitting there watching him doze was the most heartbreaking moment of my entire life. Eventually, the days turned into weeks, which melted into months. The pain, it's dull, but it's still there. I hope it always will be. Not a day goes by that I don't think about her. Now, even though technically my baby didn't have a gender, I refuse to relabel it, so I call it a her. If things had gone a different route, she would have turned a year old last month. It really gets to me sometimes. I wish things had been different. But she's out there somewhere. I want her to know that her daddy loves her deeply. And she will always, always be wanted. Thank you.